Welcome to Happy Today podcast. This is a podcast for those who want to improve service experience of internal services. If you use ServiceNow or other enterprise service management system, then this is for you. Hi Chris, nice to have you here in the Happy Today podcast.
Hi Pasi, it's great to be here.
Yeah. Hey, tell us a little bit about your background and how did you end up in Campari in your position?
As is always the case, or often the case, it was actually through a number of different connections. But with a previous organisation that has some links into Campari and doing similar work, and it was a great opportunity to actually move over and join them. Okay,
what's the passion like? What are you trying to achieve with Campari and in your role?
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's one of the things that was really appealing about Campari. It's quite a passionate organisation, strong Italian roots, obviously, and a big transformational journey that Campari is going on. So there's really a sense of the whole business wanting this to really be successful and really see a big step change. And so these were really one of the interesting things about it.
Okay. Then what does employee experience mean to you and the organization?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm an IT person. I'm really about tickets, incidents, requests, service, these sorts of things. And so I'm always looking at it on that side and how did the actual service work, and how do people rate it? So I always it's an interesting dynamic for me, because on the one hand I'm always really sort of primarily focused on was the service successful? Did the user get what they need? Did we fix it within the time or whatever other parameters? But you can certainly see how some of that is starting to become less relevant, and the focus around, well, was the actual employee experience that they had of the service, whether it was delivered in time or not, or whatever, how did that actually view? And I think when you combine those two, it gives you quite an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. When you got started, what kind of challenges did you face? Any fears? What about external partners?
Yeah, so for Campari, then it was quite a straightforward approach, I would say, because we were working with yourselves right from day one, and we had no measure. I suppose one of the difficulties, we didn't have anything to compare against.
True, yeah.
And we all had some fairly high expectations. I think possibly maybe initially a little bit too high. Yeah. as to what the service would be like when we went live. So I think one of those initial fears or challenges was also then actually looking at some of the real data once we'd gone live. But it's been a very rapid transition as well, I think, which has introduced some of the challenges.
Yeah, I guess you started 3 months ago or 2 months ago.
Yeah, we went live with just a couple of hundred users in New York in June, but that was really just a pilot.
Yeah.
We actually went live beginning of September for the entire organisation, and we did the transition, the pretty much the bulk of the work in less than 4 months.
Okay,
so it was pretty aggressive.
Yeah. So what are now the main kind of pains or the problems that you're trying to fix with using the experience data?
It's quite I think it's difficult to be specific about which pain. Yeah. I think knowing the tool and having used the data before, what we are able to see is any service, any location, is it working or not? And so I think we have to be realistic about what we can do. The not trying to eat the elephant, as some people say. Yeah. But what we need to do, particularly at this early stage of transition, when without this data we don't really know what people are thinking. It's a very new service. There's still going to be problems. It's looking at where are the priorities and actually dealing with those.
So how do you practically use it in your daily work?
So we look at the service information within the tool. what are people rating? How are they rating their experience on a service level? So then we can look at those service lines within the organization, working with Capgemini, and understand what the problems are. Are these global problems? Are we seeing them across all different roles, all different locations, or is it specific locations where we're seeing specific issues? Is there even a language element into that? So it's helping us to and guiding us into and it directs us to where the high priority issues are, if you like.
Okay. Now that you have the data for a couple of months, and of course in your earlier position in your earlier company for a bit longer than that, how would it feel to now come to work without having it?
Yeah, painful, I would say. And it is very insightful. It really helps. And not to have that, we would be reliant on either what we thought personally, or only when people really screamed about the service.
The one who starts to shout the loudest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas with this information, with a good response rate as well, then actually we can pretty much see how all of the services in all locations are actually functioning, and we'd be blind virtually. We'd be reliant on service levels and ServiceNow ticket data or something. It's very different.
Did you get any feedback from the real employees who are actually rating about your approach? So did you communicate it somehow to them, or what kind of feedback have you gotten? Not the actual feedback of the services, but actually gathering the feedback. If that culture was missing, did the employees react on it somehow?
Two different scenarios there. When we launched the service within Campari, there was a lot of organizational change management, and we included details about how to give the feedback in a lot of those communications, and it was quite widely known. And the response rate at day one was pretty good. I think if you look into earlier experiences, having launched this in a larger organization, we posted an update on a online site. We didn't send one email about the service. We didn't tell really anyone. It was just in case people actually happened to read this newsletter online. And within a week, we had a very high response rate. Yeah. It was incredible how easily users just saw it in the email and clicked a number.
Yeah, I think it's the culture. People have kind of used to it in consumer life, in the daily life, that people are asking feedback, and also people are giving nowadays feedback. Yeah. It used to be that you're just like silent and you're just like maybe angry about it, but you're not giving feedback, and now it's very direct. I think because of all the social media and all this, that how people have kind of get used to communicating. What about future plans? So what kind of initiatives will you try to kind of support with the experience data, or what are you kind of move forward?
Obviously, there's the continual service improvement we need to do. That goes without saying. But Campari is also on a big transformational journey. A lot of workplace technology changes coming up in the next year. And we can use the experience data to actually see how the users are, what their experience is of that service. Yeah. We can link it very clearly into when actions or services are going live in different locations, and understand what people think. And we can even, through some of our communications, also start to encourage people to give some of that feedback as well. Yeah. But I think on top of that, because this will tell us what the users think of the service, but also we can use that same data to then understand how well our service partners are able to support these new services as well.
True.
Because it's always the two things in terms of what the users actually think of the service and what their experience was, and how well do we think the vendor actually delivered the service.
Right. Okay, then lastly, any surprises, happy or unhappy ones after the rollout or during the rollout?
The rollout was fine. It was easy. It's a really simple and easy tool to deploy, so that was great and expected. I think and no, in terms of the tool itself, no unhappy surprises.
Any comments from the IT department colleagues who have never seen this kind of not seen experience data before? How did they react? Or
well, I think we're still in that journey.
Okay.
And I think that there are a few of us that kind of understand it, and I think there are a lot of us that need to start to learn it and understand it, and that's going to be part of our challenge, I think.
Okay, that's actually a pretty common challenge. I think all these things like very easy to take into use, the key personnel understand it, but then like rolling it out into, it's still like a change program in a way, change the way of working, change the way of thinking and the cultural change.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think as well, it's particularly in our scenario where we're in an outsourced environment, it's all too easy for the service partner just to think about the service level and the SLA and it's green, so it's fine.
Yeah.
When actually we don't really care about that anymore, and we really want to understand what the users think.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Chris. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
And we always end it in a way saying like, stay happy.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.